from the exercise you've just completed, you will already know of Moses Maimonides. In fact, of all thinkers we'll be looking at in this course, he's the one you most likely had already heard of, though you probably knew him by his acronym, his name being Rabbi Moses ben Maimon, which is reduced to the acronym Rambam. Maimonides lived in the 12th century, and like Yehuda Halevi, he was born in Andalusia, Muslim Spain, in the city of Cordoba to be precise. Though he had to flee to Morocco as a result of the conquest of Muslim Spain by a more extreme Islamic sect called the Almohads, who were forcing Jews to convert. Eventually, he would end up in Egypt, in Fustat, or Old Cairo, where he lived, and would then travel into Cairo itself to administer as a royal physician to the palace of the Sultan. But in Jewish history, he is of course best known as the author of two of the greatest works of Jewish literature, his comprehensive code of Jewish law, the Mishneh Torah, and his classic work of Jewish philosophy, the Guide of the Perplexed. The Guide of the Perplexed, like Saadia Gaon's work before it, and Yehuda Halevi's, was written in Arabic. Its actual title is Dalalat al-Ha'irin. It was actually written in Judeo-Arabic, which means it was in Arabic, but using Hebrew letters. Anyway, both of these works, for different reasons, turned out to be immensely controversial. Jews burned Maimonides' books in the century following his death. And the fact is that, certainly in the case of the Guide, which is our focus, one can sort of understand why his Jewish contemporaries might have reacted negatively. You see, the subject matter of the Guide was twofold, according to Maimonides. The first purpose of this treatise, he writes, is to explain what can be explained of the account of the beginning and of the account of the chariot. So this is what the book is about, but what are these accounts? Well, the account of the beginning, as you might imagine, refers to the opening chapters of Genesis or Bereshit. It's the account of creation. The account of the chariot, on the other hand, is actually the opening chapter of the book of Ezekiel, in which there is a very strange vision that Ezekiel describes of a chariot. I was once told by an elderly gentleman who worked in medicine that this vision of a chariot that we read in Ezekiel reads much like a acid trip or a vision on LSD. I didn't ask him how he knew that. So, the account of the beginning and the account of the chariot. These are the focus of the book, but what exactly are they? We know that they are accounts of biblical texts, but that doesn't necessarily help us. Now, Maimonides himself actually tells us, as you see here in a further quote from the introduction to the Guide, that we have mentioned in our legal compilations, as in his legal works, that the account of the beginning is identical with natural science or physics, and the account of the chariot with divine science or metaphysics. He also adds, you should not think that these great secrets are fully and completely known to anyone among us. So, Maimonides believed that he was writing a book on the account of the beginning and the account of the chariot, but he believed that the account of the beginning and the account of the chariot were basically telling us about physics and metaphysics, basically philosophy. Which is fine until you note the following. There is a famous Mishnah in Chagiga. It's the first Mishnah of the second Perek, which tells us, forbidden relations are not expounded before 3, nor the account of the beginning before 2, nor the account of the chariot before a single person, unless he is a sage who understands from his own knowledge. The rabbis basically are here forbidding teaching the account of the beginning and the account of the chariot, among other things, in public. These are secrets of the Torah. They're only suitable for the initiates. Now, some of you may have heard that the great Jewish mystical text, the Zohar, should not be studied until you're 40, with various other conditions too. And this is the same sort of idea. Only the chosen few can cope with these great secret teachings of the account of the beginning and account of the chariot. So, by the way, as we go on this semester, just recall the trust I'm placing in you by teaching you about this stuff. But now, of course, we have a problem, because anyone can get hold of books. The subject of this book, though, isn't fit for everyone, so what do you do? Maimonides seems to be writing a book about something that you shouldn't write a book about. So, what one can do, of course, is firstly try to limit the readership. This book is written initially as a letter to a student, just as a one-on-one. And you can write the book in a way that throws people off the scent, so to speak. Take this quote, where Maimonides tells us, "It is not the purpose of this treatise to make its totality understandable to the vulgar or to beginners in speculation, nor to teach those who have not engaged in any study other than the science of the law, I mean the legalistic study of the law. For the purpose of this treatise and all of those like it is the science of the law in its true sense." Maimonides is telling us this isn't for beginners, this isn't for the masses, this isn't even for Talmudic scholars. If you spent all your time in yeshiva doing Talmud, the legalistic study of the law, this might not be for you, because this is about the law in its true sense. So he doesn't want everybody to read it, he doesn't want everybody to understand it. And how do you do that? Well, Maimonides uses different strategies in order to possibly hide certain views that he doesn't want made public. And that leads to the view that Maimonides is writing a book that, if you read it straightforwardly, maybe has one meaning, but means something else completely if you pay close attention to all the little tricks he's employing. There is, according to this view, an external or exoteric reading of the text, but also an esoteric or hidden meaning of what he writes that will only reveal itself to those who pay close enough attention. And that esoteric meaning is generally going to be deeply philosophical. Maimonides is pretty much an Aristotelian philosopher. He follows, in many ways, the teachings of Aristotle. They're the teaching of Aristotle as understood by his Islamic interpreters, as we've mentioned before, and it's also mixed in with another school of thought called Neoplatonism, Plotinus and Proclus being two of the proponents of that. But basically, therefore, he's writing a book. He has to construct it very carefully because it's not suitable for everybody. Now, your task in the next exercise, therefore, will be to try to work out who he wants to read the book and how he wants them to read it if they are to uncover its secrets. Good luck with your investigations.